mistress promised me when she died she set me free. Shout Lulu, shout your best, your old grandmammy's gone to rest. You take hook and I'll take line, we'll go fishing in the summertime. You get a line, I'll get a pole, we'll run down to the fishing hole. Okay guys, that was hook and line on this brand new Gourd Banjo that I just built. Just finished it yesterday. And here she is. Pretty neat. Let me get up a little bit closer. Try to show y'all some better detail of it. Pretty sick, isn't it? Came out really cool. This is the first serious attempt at a Gourd Banjo that I ever tried. That's a Jeff Menzies goat hide all the way from Jamaica. So Jeff didn't kill these goats, but he bought them off of the butcher, I guess, and stretched them and scraped them out himself. So it's a nice unbleached, genuine Caribbean goat hide on what is sort of trying to be an Afro-Caribbean folk instrument. You know, very early. This is basically this is my attempt at trying to make an 18th century or even earlier, but basically I was thinking 18th century, 1700s, you know, Caribbean or you know, coastal banjo, something that would have been built by an enslaved American. And I gotta say, I'm astounded with this thing. I tuned this up. The tuning is F, B flat. I'm sorry, F, F, B flat, C. I think that's where I'm at. F, F, B flat, C. I tuned this thing up yesterday afternoon, right before it started raining. And it started raining, I wanted to film outside, and it started raining, and so I put this thing up. It's been raining for at least 24 hours now. And so I haven't been able to record outside. I finally had to do it in here. And guys, I picked it up to film this, it's still in tune. It held its tuning, so, you know, that's not only is that a testament to my skills as a luthier, I guess, but also it's a testament to this, what some would consider a crude, primitive folk instrument. It's a testament to this as a viable instrument. This is an instrument that now that I've actually built one, I can see how you could really, this can preserve a culture. You know, this is something you can sing to, you can dance to, and you can make it. It took me about probably 18 hours of solid work, scraping away by hand. I didn't use any electric tools on this, guys. I want to stress that. I did this all by hand, and I think my best guess took about 18 or 20 hours of solid work on it, and I'm not a particularly fast worker either. So maybe somebody could build it faster, but I built this off of several of examples. There's a couple of old paintings from the 18th century. One's called The Old Plantation, which is a pretty famous painting. The other one I think is less well known. It's called Liberty Dispenses the Arts and Sciences, or something like that. I forget the title. But way in the background there's a little dude back there who's holding a banjo that kind of looks like this. So based off of those two paintings, and really my big inspiration was I recently got to handle in a private collection a really, what I'm told is a really exact replica of the famous Haitian banza from the 1840s. It's in a museum in Europe somewhere. But look up the Haitian banza, B-A-N-Z-A. That's sort of a famous relic from the 1840s. Like I said, it's in a museum in Europe somewhere right now. But Pete Ross, who lives and builds banjos up in Baltimore, Pete Ross got to examine that thing up close, and he built apparently a really exact replica of it. And so I got to see, string up and play that instrument in my friend's private collection up in North Carolina. And I got to play that. And that, looking at that up close, is when I really was like, I gotta make one of these. I've never built a gourd banjo before. And really, probably the main reason I've never really tried is because I've never been able to grow a gourd that was good enough. We grew this gourd right here in Georgia. And like I said, I probably planted about 20 gourd plants that fruited. And of those 20, we only got about 3 or 4 gourds that were even this big and strong enough to build a banjo. So here's the first one that I've made. Anyhow, I just want to say that this is a real instrument. Yes, you could say it's crude, it's primitive and stuff, but think about, you know, the people who were building and playing these. Not only was it the 1700s or the 1600s or even earlier, but these were people who were enslaved. They had no property. They had very limited access to tools. They might have even had basically like no tools to make this. Way less tools than what I had probably. So these people are enslaved. They don't have any personal tools. They don't have any personal property to speak of at all. And they don't have any free time. So imagine building something like this when you're an enslaved American in the 1700s or earlier. That's a pretty great artistic feat, I think. Pretty brilliant. So let me just show some more details of this banjo that I built, guys. The 5th peg goes all the way through. You know, most of these early banjos, the peg goes in the back like that, but I didn't really have enough room on this stick of poplar to do that, so I had to sink mine in sideways. It's got 3 strings. You'll notice it lacks the heavy, fat 4th bass string. My opinion is that those were the 4th string on a banjo was probably pretty rare prior to about 1820, 1830 or something like that. Most of the early ones you see, they've got 2 or 3 long strings and always the 1 short string. To me, that's what really makes it a banjo. I'll show you too real quick the way that the neck is set in here. Can you see these there's pegs in here? So what I did was I ran my neck in there. This is just a solid piece of poplar that goes all the way through the body. I took an oak dowel and pegged it in the bottom, drilled a hole. I ran that peg through the hole, and I got my neck about where I wanted it, basically flush tight up against that. And then I took a maple wedge. This is just a piece of scrap that was laying on my workshop floor. I tapped this wedge in there with some glue on it, real snug, and then I drilled a hole with a hand gimlet, like no shit. Put glue on it and drove a peg in there, tapped that peg in there. Then I did the same thing. I drilled a hole all the way through the neck, into the neck, and I tapped a long peg in there with glue. I did the same thing here. Can you see that peg? That peg goes all the way into the neck. So, it's hollow in there. A lot of the original ones I saw, they cut shapes around here. I don't know, either for decoration or as sound holes or both. I was a little bit worried to do that with this one. I thought it might structurally compromise it, so I didn't cut any more holes in here. I just let this be the sound hole. It's open in here, and I think that's really neat. It gives it a real pretty look to the instrument, I think, and it's practical. It makes sound. This thing is a great little instrument. I cannot stress enough that this is a real viable musical instrument that you can sing and dance to. I also want to show the bridge. The bridge is pretty neat. This is the first time I didn't know how to make the bridge. None of these originals have a bridge on them. So I looked on the internet at like a conting. That's the sort of contemporary West African instrument that's similar to a banjo. The conting, and I kind of looked at some of those bridges. They're heavy and big, and this is a 4-legged bridge. Pretty neat. That's a solid piece of Georgia black walnut. And this whole thing is made out of local materials. Georgia tulip poplar neck, black walnut, Georgia black walnut tuners, Black walnut bridge. It's actually a cherry tailpiece from Michigan, so I cheated on that a little bit. And then a Georgia gourd and a Jamaican goat hide, which is, you know, regional. So, pretty cool, guys. So that's all I really want to show on this. I'm real proud of it. It's real neat. The person I made this for said they didn't even care if it played or not. They just wanted me to build something extremely rustic and kind of wild and crazy. And so I went with it, and I didn't really expect it to play as well as it does. But it plays. All right, guys, there's my gourd banjo. Thanks for looking.